Most of you are probably sick to death of this saga by now, and to be honest with you, I am as well. But the latest information on the Joshua Klitschko situation is that the WBA have still not gotten back to Team Joshua and Team Klitschko to let them know whether they're going to allow their vacant belt to be contested in that fight. And according to Eddie Hearn, and look, when it comes to Eddie Hearn's word, you can take it or leave it. But according to Eddie Hearn, and I'll leave a link to this particular video in the description below, he says that him and Joshua are willing to go ahead and fight Klitschko with only Joshua's IBF title on the line. They say they don't need that WBA belt. They like it, but they don't need it, and they're willing to fight Klitschko just as a voluntary defense for Joshua's IBF. They say, or Eddie Hearn says, that the deal in terms of the finances for Klitschko will be exactly the same, whether it's the IBF title on the line alone or the IBF and WBA. And again, according to Hearn, Klitschko don't seem to want it. He seems to be adamant that the WBA title has to be on the line. Now, if what Eddie Hearn is saying is accurate, then this actually looks like Wladimir Klitschko is, lo and behold, ducking Anthony Joshua in this fight. I'm also going to leave a link. In fact, I'll leave a screenshot. I'll put a screenshot on screen right now so you can see the video for yourselves and type it in and go have a watch of it. Steve Bunce said several days ago that he don't think the Joshua Klitschko fight is going to happen, but not because Eddie Hearn and Joshua don't want it, but in his view, it's because Klitschko has other ideas and another route that he wants to go. And remember, Bunce said this several days ago. He said that Klitschko has already booked a venue in Germany, and that's the direction he's going to go. So it seems as though at the moment, what Steve Bunce said was accurate and that he was actually in the know. He is a boxing journalist at the end of the day. He does hear whispers and rumors behind the scenes. So maybe he got it right. Now, some people might find it absolutely ridiculous to suggest that Wladimir Klitschko would duck Anthony Joshua. Look, I've always said from the beginning, as soon as this fight was even being discussed, that I'd be surprised if it goes ahead, not because I think Klitschko wouldn't want it, but because I can't see Eddie Hearn risking his cash cow Joshua after only 17 fights against somebody as experienced and formidable as Wladimir Klitschko. That's the reason I was skeptical that the fight would ever go ahead. But in light of this new information coming from Eddie Hearn and Steve Bunce, if it's not true, then we'll hear Klitschko and his manager Bernd Bonta refute this. But if they don't refute this, then quite honestly, people, it does look like Wladimir Klitschko wants an easier path back to the heavyweight title than facing Anthony Joshua. Maybe he really was impressed during those 20 rounds that he sparred with Joshua. Remember, Wladimir Klitschko is not the most naturally confident guy. He's not a natural fighter. He's admitted this himself. He said his brother Vitaly was born a natural fighter, whereas he wasn't. He had to learn how to not only fight physically, but prepare himself mentally for a fight because it didn't come to him naturally. And you can see the way his career has unfolded that he don't have that natural fighter's instinct inside of him. He's a tremendous athlete. He's a tremendous technical boxer, so on and so forth. And he is a great fighter, an all-time great in my opinion. But he isn't the most naturally confident guy. And when he's coming off a loss to Tyson Fury, and 12 months out the ring, and I've mentioned in recent videos, when an older fighter like Klitschko has a long layoff, it tends to hurt them a lot more than when a younger fighter has a long layoff. So he's coming off a loss, which must have hurt his confidence to a certain extent. A long layoff. He perhaps was impressed by Anthony Joshua in sparring. Maybe he's thinking, you know what? I can't risk losing at this stage. I can't risk 2 back-to-back losses. If I'm going to fight Joshua, let me go become a champion and then go back in and maybe try unify with Joshua after I've got a couple of wins again under my belt. Now, who would Wladimir Klitschko fight for that WBA title elsewhere? It could be Lucas Browne. I know I've also talked about Browne possibly fighting David Haye, but there's a power struggle right there. Everybody's trying to get in and see who, see if they can fight for the vacant belt. And with the WBA, you've got the regular belt and the super belt. I don't know if the WBA are going to consolidate both belts and have them both on the line in one fight. I'm not sure what's going to go on there, but you could get Wladimir Klitschko versus Lucas Browne, or Wladimir Klitschko versus God knows who else. If you've got any information, particularly on who you think Klitschko is going to fight, then please drop it in the comment section below. I'd be very interested to know, if you do have any word on that. But as it stands right now, it looks as though Klitschko is the one preventing this fight from taking place. As extraordinary as that is, as far-fetched as some people probably will say it is, that seems to be the case. And until Klitschko and his manager come out and refute it, then we're just going to have to take it as that. It is what it is. Who will Joshua fight instead? Will he fight David Price maybe? Eric Molina? There are a few guys there. Jarrell Miller. There are still some guys in the IBF top 15. I mean, Johan Duopa, is supposed to be fighting Carlos Takam in an all-French derby. But the way the heavyweight landscape is, it's subject to change any minute, any second. So he could easily pull out of that fight if he was offered the Joshua fight and take it. I know Duopa is very keen on fighting Joshua. He's a tough man. He's coming off a good win, knocking out Robert Helenius. So right now he's as credible opponent as most guys in the top 15 of the IBF. Kubrat Pulev don't really seem interested in fighting Joshua. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here, people. But it doesn't seem as though Klitschko-Joshua is going to happen. And Eddie Hearn has also said that Joshua will still fight even if he don't fight Klitschko, and he'll fight in December 10th, and it will be in Manchester. All right? So drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel about this whole situation. I know a lot of you are probably jaded and whatnot, and you just want it to get resolved as quickly as possible. We all do. But let's just see what transpires. What do you think? Is Klitschko ducking Anthony Joshua? Is he second guessing himself? Maybe it's to do with the terms of the negotiation with Joshua. Klitschko hasn't been the B-side for a very long time. But going up against Joshua as a challenger, he would be the B-side. According to Eddie Hearn and Bernd Bontar, they'd agreed money. So perhaps it wasn't just the money. Perhaps it was the size of the ring, the gloves, the canvas, all the stuff that Klitschko worries about. Maybe he couldn't get all that stuff his own way, but rather than look fussy, rather than look intimidated, he said, you know what? We really want the WBA belt to be on the line. Maybe Klitschko was double-crossing Joshua. Maybe he had other plans for that WBA belt all along. And the whole negotiating with Joshua was just a smokescreen because, again, according to Steve Bunce, Klitschko has had this venue in Germany booked for a long time. And there was no way that Joshua was going to be fighting Klitschko in Germany. Why would he? Joshua was the champion. He ain't got to go nowhere. It's Klitschko that has to go to Joshua. Let me know how you feel in the comment section, people. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.